Hi, I'm Kalilah Reynolds, and welcome to Taking Stock, a show that makes business and finance easy to understand. We're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how they will affect you and your money. Come on, let's get this money.
First up, do you have a small or medium business that needs funding? Sagicor Investments and SEAF want to pump millions of dollars into local businesses. Find out what they're looking for. You might just qualify. And later, the analysts weigh in on the latest stock market developments, including JMMB'S additional public offer, Lumber Depot's looming IPO, and more.
But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB.
Jamaica has moved up in the World Bank's Doing Business report rankings. In the 2020 report released last week, Jamaica's ranked at 71 out of 190 countries, moving up 4 places from last year. The island's best ranking is in the category of starting a business, while its worst performance is trading across borders. Jamaica now ranks as the best country in the English-speaking Caribbean for doing business. The Jamaican dollar fell to its lowest value in history last week, just 7 cents away from a record $139 to $1. The fall follows an intervention from the Bank of Jamaica, which sold $30 million in a flash auction to temper the market. The local currency rebounded slightly at the end of the week to close on Friday at $138.80. It was a busy week on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, with 2 companies announcing upcoming rights issues, 1 IPO coming up, and JMMB'S $10 billion additional public offer opening. Kingston Properties will be seeking to raise $2 billion Jamaican dollars at a subscription price of $5.62 per share. The offer is open to shareholders on record as of November 8. That's also the record date for MPC Caribbean Clean Energy, which will be seeking to raise nearly $22 million at $1 a share. To understand more about rights issues, watch Money Monday's JA, What is a Rights Issue, on YouTube. Meanwhile, Mayberry Investments has announced that the initial public offer for Lumber Depot will be dropping in less than 2 weeks. And of course, the big one last week was the opening of JMMB'S additional public offer, which would be the largest amount ever raised on the local market if successful. Check out the Money Mondays JA playlist on YouTube for details of the JMMB and Lumber Depot offers. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
And when we come back, millions of dollars for small businesses. We're taking stock with SEAF Managing Director Leo Williams. This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agent. Insurance made easy. Welcome back to Taking Stock. Sagicor Investments and SEAF have launched the Caribbean SME Growth Fund. Here are some quick facts about the fund. It's a $40 million fund to start. That's going to be pumped into 15 Caribbean small and medium businesses. So that's about $3 to $7 million each. And they plan on increasing that fund to $100 million very soon. In the past 30 years, SEAF has invested $1.3 billion in 28 countries around the world. Now, according to SEAF co-founder and CEO Bert Vandervaart, companies they've invested in have seen 15% growth in jobs, 20% growth in revenues, and 30% growth in taxes paid to the government for our benefit. Well, joining me now is the Managing Director of the SEAF Caribbean SME Growth Fund, Leo Williams. Hi, Leo.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome to Taking Stock.
Good to see you.
All right, so first of all, what is SEAF?
SEAF is an organization based in the United States. It's a 501c3, which means it's a non-profit organization, but it's a global entity, and it invests around the world in many different startup, small, medium enterprise companies that are growing throughout the regions and the different countries in which they operate.
And it stands for
Small Enterprise Assistance Fund.
Okay.
So that harkens back to the days of its original roots when it was seeking to do impact investing and also investing for growth and performance in the portfolio.
So this company specializes in private equity.
That's right.
And for those who don't know, aren't very familiar with what that means, it's kind of like Shark Tank, right? What they
Exactly.
do. So you buy
that's
a
good
portion
summary.
you buy a portion of the company in exchange for, well, you give them cash in exchange for a percentage of the company.
Typically, that's one structure, absolutely. What we do is we take positions with the companies. We help them not only with financial investing, but also with advising and also with strategic positioning. And then we look to grow with them as a partner over the period of 5 to 10 years. At the end of that period of time, we expect that each company would have achieved a growth rate of 3, 4, 500%.
Wow.
And so we would then look at ways of effecting an exit. And so typically around the world, when you hear people speak about exit, that might mean selling a portion of the company to another larger company or to another company that's seeking to get into the same industry, or maybe putting it on the stock exchange in the form of an IPO.
And when you talk about exit, that's what you're talking about?
We're talking about any combination of those or further mergers and acquisitions as well.
Okay, so you're not looking to hold on to these companies forever?
No, we take a position and we help them grow. We join them on the journey for a period of time, and then we move on and let them achieve their vision. But along the way, we look to see ways in which we can strategically position not only that company, but other companies in the portfolio or other companies in the economy to benefit from their performance.
But I did notice on the fact sheet that you guys distributed at the launch, where you're seeking to own either majority control or a significant portion of the company. And one of the issues with private equity traditionally has been that if you own too much, if the entrepreneur gives up too much to the investor, they can feel kind of left out of their own company, like they no longer have control, and then they lose motivation for the company.
Right. Well,
so how do you manage that?
Yes, the terminology we used on the launch paraphernalia was actually that we look to take controlling interest or a significant share.
Right.
And so that control doesn't necessarily mean 51%. What it means is that when we partner with a company, we've identified ways in which they can grow. And then we also, to protect our investors, we make sure that we have a good agreement with the company as to how it is that we see them growing and their agreement about that growth. And so, for example, if we partner and the agreement is that they're going to grow market share by selling more product, and that investment is going to be used to expand their ability to sell product, there will be terminology in the agreement that says on receiving this fund, you won't be buying an expensive car. And so if, for example, the entrepreneur changes their mind, or if another person comes into control of the company other than us, we have an ability to then say we veto that decision, which is not necessarily in the agreement. So the control is speaking more about the investment that we make, as well as possibly other types of influence in the company to ensure that our interests are aligned.
I see. So why did SEAF decide to enter the Caribbean market at this time? Because you're all over the world already.
Absolutely. The Caribbean is a growing dynamic environment. The markets are different, distinct from each other. There's great diversification across the Caribbean. We're looking at initially investing in not just Jamaica, although we're headquartered here in Jamaica, Kingston, but we're looking at also investments in Barbados, in Trinidad, and in Guyana, because those countries as a whole represent a big portion of the Caribbean from population, as well as from the GDP of the region, as well as from the influence that these companies can then exert in other markets of the region. And
what types of industries are you looking at?
Well, we're industry agnostic, which means that we're not looking at a specific industry. We're more looking at the opportunity for the company to move from point A to 10 times point A. And so we're looking for ways in which the company can align strategically and grow by diversification, either outside of its native country into the rest of the region, or by partnering with another larger provider or other strategic types of positioning that can take place.
So what are the things that you're looking for in a company that SEAF, Sagicor SME Growth Fund would want?
Very pertinent question. One of the more important things that we look for is who is running the company. What's the track record and the performance of the entrepreneur that has taken the company to the point where we're meeting them? Because that entrepreneur, whether man or woman or a group of people, they have a ability that we want to enhance. And so we typically look for companies that have delivered, that have a strong customer base, that have strong operations, and the governance is very important. That they not only take advice from themselves, but they also have advisory councils or people who help to give them the better ideas and to make the decisions that they need to make at significant junctures. So we're looking for companies that have demonstrated in many of these areas, but the people are the central point. We want to build entrepreneurs, we want to build companies, we want to build the economy, so that each of these areas can express themselves more in the success that we see, and then bring that success to investors outside of the region.
Do you necessarily have to have a particular revenue stream at this time?
The important thing is that the prospects for growth. And so when we're looking at a company and we're saying we want to look at possibly doing an investment of $2 or $3 million US, then that company needs to be able to absorb that amount of capital without it overwhelming their ability to do the work that they do. So it typically is a company that's of size. Now we recognize that the Caribbean has many smaller businesses, and so the opportunity is going to come up for us to look at a company, evaluate that that company is a great company and it's growing well, and it might be a year or 2 years off from investment. If that's the case, we also are looking at launching an innovation fund, which has already been launched in Trinidad, and we're making moves to do something similar here in Jamaica. That can then take the company from that smaller size and prepare it for an investment by the Caribbean SME Growth Fund.
I see, I see. So have you already chosen the companies?
We have not. We're looking at companies. So if you have clients, if you have followers, if you have contacts that are interested in receiving investments, please have them reach out. We're available, and we're going to be scanning through the companies, looking for those diamonds in the rough, and then we're going to begin polishing.
Well, tell me how they can reach you.
Well, we have an email address at the bottom of the fact sheet. You'll see CAR SME Fund on the second page on the bottom, CAR SME Fund at SEAF.com. And that email address will reach us. You can also go to the website of the parent company, SEAF.com. That's Small Enterprise Assistance Fund,
so SEAF.com.
We'll be reaching out to a number of different companies. We'll be joining chambers of commerce and different social organizations. We'll be on social media. So we'll be looking for companies and trying to make sure that our reach is felt and our ability to help and to contribute to the economy is really there.
Well, all the best, Leo. I'm sure you'll find some of those diamonds in the rough and shine them up real bright.
Thank you. We're glad to help.
So you hear that, guys? Lots of opportunities for funding. When we come back, we've got the analysts standing by. This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agent. Insurance made easy.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Proven Wealth, Jamaica Money Market Brokers, and NCB Capital Markets.
Welcome back to Taking Stock. I've got a team of analysts to examine the week in business. We're joined by Houghton Richards, investment analyst at Proven Wealth. Devroy Davis, he's a stock market analyst and co-founder of Caribbean Value Investor. And Randy Rowe is the host of the finance podcast Earnings Season and creator of financial blog everymickle.com. But first, here's your market recap.
Not the best week on the JSE for the week ending Friday, October 25, as 51 of the 85 stocks that traded last week declined. Only 20 advanced and 14 traded firm. Once again, Wigton Wind Farm and Sagicor Select Fund traded the most, followed by Carreras. Wigton took up 24% of market volume, with people buying and selling 36 million ordinary shares in the renewable energy company. However, their share price opened and closed the week unmoved at 94 cents. Meanwhile, 33 million Sagicor Select Fund shares traded, representing 22% of market volume. Share prices are down to $1.15, losing just 1 cent last week. And Carreras was third among the volume leaders, with 31 million units changing hands. The tobacco company fell 13 cents last week to close at $7.95. Kingston Properties saw the biggest gain. Share price is up 14% as the company announced an upcoming renounceable rights issue as well as upcoming dividends. Kingston Properties closed the week at $5.90. SSL Venture Capital also saw decent gains, its share price jumping 9% to close the week at $1.31. And Elite Diagnostic gained 4%, closing at $5.80 a share. On the losing side now, and there were a lot, 7 companies seeing double-digit falls in share price, led by Cigna's US dollar ordinary shares, which lost 14% of its value, closing Friday at 12 cents US. Kingston Live Entertainment KLE Group was down 12%, closing at $1.76, and Alaska Distributors lost almost 12%, closing at $3.50.
All right, welcome to the team. So Houghton, let's start with you. Anything stood out for you on the market this week?
This week, everybody was just, I believe, would organizing themselves to make the final decision about how they feel about the JMMB APO. It opened up this Tuesday, if I remember correctly.
That's
and
right.
I think everybody will be, just trying to do their final research, see what the different brokerage houses are saying about the offer. Positioning themselves to see if they want to participate or if they don't want to participate, and get everybody's opinion. I think that's what everybody's attention was this week.
Devroyd, for you?
For me, I think there were a few interesting moves. Wigton, for example, traded quite heavily. I think on Tuesday there were around 20 million shares, with trading being dominated primarily by Wigton and Select Funds, who also declared dividends the week before. So quite likely there are also persons trying to get some of those shares before the record date. Another thing that actually stood out to me was a significant trade, at least in my opinion, for RJR. There were 3 million plus shares traded in RJR. And for me, that was significant because if you look at the nominal or the average volume of shares that typically moves for RJR is between 1 and 300,000.
So all of a sudden, 3 million, that would catch your attention.
Exactly, and it did.
Randy, anything for you?
For me, I am fired up about what's happening with Blue Power and the spin-off with the lumber company. Yeah, I'm really happy to see a company that started in Jamaica, small company, small entrepreneur, building up his thing, and they've gotten a lot of boost from the junior market, from the JSC, the junior JSC break. I know that as they're maturing, within that company there's a department that is also so good that it can stand on its own and become its own company. That's what I like, when companies breed companies and people make money from something like that. And Jamaicans make money. So I'm really excited about the lumber IPO.
Well, let's go there. Let's start with that discussion because I learned about this through your podcast, Earnings Season. You guys are always talking about Lumber Depot and what was going to happen with Blue Power. So why do you think they're spinning it off? By the way, you can learn more on Money Mondays as well.
Yes.
Why do you think that they're spinning off like this at this time?
Being frank, I think their tax break is coming to an end soon, and this is an opportunity for them to take probably one of the more lucrative parts of the company, spin it off on its own, and allow it to enjoy its own tax rate. Because if it stays under the main company, if it stays under Blue Power, when Blue Power's tax break expires, its tax break also expires. So to give it a chance on its own to see if it's really good, this is the best thing. I really think it's about the tax break and giving that arm of the company the best chance to grow.
But what are the prospects for this company on its own, Devroyd?
Lumber Depot has been really one of the more lucrative arms of the Blue Power Group. The prospects for it, I think, are really good, primarily if you look at the number of housing upstarts that are happening in and around Kingston. So with continued impetus behind growth in construction and all of that, then Lumber Depot in and of itself has far more room to grow. And I would agree with Randy that you being Blue Power, they probably want to give this company or this arm the ability to grow on its own and capitalize actually on those increased revenues that will probably be coming.
So you guys think this is going to be a hot buy when it comes out?
Yeah, I haven't seen Mayberry get it wrong yet.
Yeah.
So.
I'll wait on the prospectus.
I'll wait on the prospectus. Yes. Definitely wait until the prospectus is out.
Okay, so Houghton, you mentioned the JMMB APO, and of course, Proven Investments, your parent company, has a stake in JMMB, 20%. But let me hear your overview of the APO.
Well, for the JMMB offer, the research team at Proven Wealth, we view JMMB as a growing company. They have shown historical performance in terms of their revenue growth and their earnings, as well as they've always shown their willingness to expand into different sectors, meaning they got their banking license 2 years ago. That shows they're not afraid to enter into what we consider to be a very competitive industry dominated by the top 3 banks before. So what we see with this offer is that they're trying to raise capital now so that they can execute on futuristic acquisitions and transactions, primarily the one by ANALYSTS to acquire Sagicor Financial Corp. And what we see from that transaction particularly is that it allows JMMB now to diversify their earnings, meaning that outside of their banking and their financial services, they will now get a portion of insurance, which Sagicor Financial Corp has historically been dominant in the Caribbean region. So it provides a good opportunity for JMMB to now continue to bolster their already strong track record of earning growth and revenue growth. And this is not only just the Sagicor Financial Corp, they have other transactions in the pipeline. So it's a good opportunity now for investors to now participate in a company that is growing and has shown growth.
And it's the great thing about it is that it's passive income, so they don't really have to do much they kind of sit down and collect. That's the phrase that I used on another show earlier this week. So Randy, what do you make of the move with Sagicor, JMMB acquiring 22% of new Sagicor?
You said, I think it's major. It's I've spoken about it before that on the podcast, as you mentioned, that it's literally a Jamaican company reaching out and grabbing a regional entity via Canada. So we'd have been used to other entities coming in from countries like Canada and owning things here. Have a Jamaican company to reverse that trend and grab something else within the region through Canada is great. It counts as us. I don't even know if it's counted as us grabbing the region as opposed to us buying a Canadian corporation, a huge corporation. That's great. So to me, it's major. It shows how far Jamaica is coming, and especially the finance sector of the market is show them starting to push away, because if you think about it, JMMB isn't even the biggest or the second biggest thing in there. So it's one of our smaller players reaching out and suddenly becoming huge.
But Devroyd, if they're successful with raising this $10 billion and possibly more, it would make it the most money ever raised on the local stock exchange. So is it? Do you think it's doable?
I think it is. The thing
money's
about
out there?
I think money is out there. What's more, I think that the Jamaican investing public, they can appreciate what JMMB is, and they're willing to actually support JMMB. If I recall, JMMB was actually one of the brokerage houses that opened one of the higher number of brokerage accounts when we had the Wigton IPO.
You're right.
So Jamaicans are willing to support JMMB. And an additional thing that I would consider is that JMMB, being only 27 years old, as Randy said, is one of the smaller companies. So there is the potential for them to grow into the future. I recall from the APO, the prospectus that was shared on the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website, that their intention for the funds, along with the ANALYSTS acquisition, is to expand their banking business in Jamaica and in Trinidad. So I'm looking at growth coming for JMMB well into the future, and I think Jamaicans are willing to support that.
Well, speaking of it being the largest amount that would ever be raised, what are the implications for Trans-Jamaica IPO coming up? Because they're looking at $10-11 billion as well. Do you think it will impact it in any way?
I feel the market as it is now, there is capital in the market there's room for companies to come to the market. That is the motto I think JSC has been promoting, that there is capital in the market for all the companies to come. So I don't think there'll be a crowding out effect. But again, until we actually know what Trans Jamaica structure will be, where we get the prospectus, it's too early to say really if there will be a negative impact on what this offer will have, this 10 billion, leaving the market, what impact it will have on Trans Jamaica when it does come out.
Another thing about JMMB is that the offer is being made both in Jamaica and in Trinidad and Tobago. And
but
if you
they're expecting to raise most of it here.
From Jamaica, I can understand that. And you're quite likely right, because for one, Proven will have to take up at least 20% of the offer in order to maintain their holdings in JMMB. So, yes.
Yeah, so Proven will spend some money there too. So
Exactly.
they'll probably get their 10 million.
Which is wealth generation too, because I'm sure, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I believe Proven's share price might reflect that pretty soon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I hope. I would hope. Because we don't talk about that, but the truth is, technically, Proven is going to own 5% of Sagicor Financial.
Indeed.
Yes.
That is also major. And Proven is also lower down on that table of local financial entities.
Boy, look at all the synergies and the linkages going on behind the scenes.
Right.
Thanks for joining us, guys. I really love the analysis. It was good having you. Let's take our final break here on Taking Stock.
Taking Stock, The Analysts was brought to you by Proven Wealth, Jamaica Money Market Brokers, and NCB Capital Markets.
That's our show for this week. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and check out my other features, Money Mondays JA, Money Moves JA, and What's in It for Me. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Kalilah Ray. Tell a friend about Taking Stock. Share this video. Spread the word. Let's make it cool to talk about money.